Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who have tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today I'm very grateful to have the wonderful Heather Larican Rejino. She's the creator of Your Sassy Chef. She's a firecracker. And so I'm really excited to have her on, and everyone gets to hear what she has to say about power, passion, and purpose. Thank you so much for being with us, Heather.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
So, you obviously have created a life and a lifestyle for yourself that is in alignment with who you really are and your just like true self, and like aligning with your talents and gifts. And you really have a story that started out with a lot of trauma, and so you've had to overcome all kinds of obstacles to finally get to the place where you are now with your own self. So I honor you greatly for all the healing work you've done, and please share a little bit about yourself and Your Sassy Chef, and what power, passion, and purpose mean to you.
Okay, well, I created Your Sassy Chef when I moved to San Antonio, Texas, about 10 years ago. And one of my Facebook memories, it popped up that said something about me like having a catering gig or something. And I just, it was one of those moments of like, I needed to make something happen. Otherwise, bills were not going to get paid. So it happened really organically. I did graduate from culinary school back in 2000, but I stepped away from it for a while when I became a mom. And as a single mother, I went back to school, and I kind of stopped cooking and did the front of the house work of like bartending and cocktail waitressing because it was shorter hours, more money. I was able to go into school. I was able to take care of my son. And it just kind of happened strangely, organically. I had these skills and I had these talents. So when I decided to put Sassy Chef together, it was basically, I had an opportunity. I jumped on the opportunity, and then it developed into what it is today. So it was just a lot of trial and error. Like, I did not write a business plan. I didn't go to business school. I just said, people said, wow, your food's really good. Like, can you cater this event for me? And it was just me saying, okay. It was a lot of yeses. It was a lot of mistakes. But I just kept going. And I explored every component of food, of like the industry, I suppose. I was also working part-time at a gym, front desk, and I would take the classes, and I just had a couple fitness instructors saying, have you ever considered becoming an instructor and going through training? So luck would have it that I was able to afford a yoga training in a weekend, and I did that. And then I was in LA for a summer. My dad was really ill, so I spent a summer in LA because he was in a hospital there, and they had another certification for Zumba that was like discounted. So I did that, and it just kind of like, exactly. And I'm like one certification after the next, learning a different format, like, oh, I could combine food and fitness together. I've always liked to eat healthy. Maybe I can create like these healthy meals for people who want to be healthy too. It was literally just like, it just developed so naturally on its own. I really can't explain it any other way. And I think that's what makes it super cool about it. So
I agree. I think that when a lot of times when people are wanting to start something, like in your case, you had your motivation, your son was your motivation. But sometimes people really want to see the plan ahead of time and just have everything in order before they pull the trigger. And sometimes you just it's almost like you just jumped in the deep end, and you're just figuring it out, which is great. Where do you feel that mindset came from? Like, where do you think that you derived that from? Is there somebody in your family that's like that, or was that really just pure, just survival thing that was kicking in?
I often wondered where that came from too, because I really had no idea. because most of the people in my family took the traditional route, went to college, went to a four-year school, university, graduated, interns somewhere, and then stepped into their career with, what their major was from. So I really took an untraditional route. And the past 10 years that I've had this business, I was just kind of thinking of where like the risk taker in me came from. And my mom was actually the first sibling. She's the eldest daughter of 6 siblings, and then she has an older brother. She was the first person in her family to come to the United States from the Philippines by herself after college. No man, just got on, flew over the pond, started a career, barely spoke English. And then as her career sprouted, she started sponsoring her siblings to come in. And then her youngest sister, she actually paid for her college. When I heard about this news, I was like, okay, that makes so much sense. Now I see where I get it from. I'm like, okay, it's her. she's the one. And then it was like all the women in my family, they're all like these bold women who have these amazing careers. So I think it was just part of it, And most of the women in my family, they're all high-powered career or driven women. So I think it's just in our blood. So
Yeah.
very fortunate to have that.
In the DNA for sure. It's part of that story. And then being around your mom, just subconsciously, you were seeing all of her habits and her patterns and things like that. So you just already had it in you. And you just had to be put almost in the right circumstances for it to get ignited in you.
Yeah. And my grandmother lived with us growing up, and she passed away at 88, but she was working until the day she died. She was walking up and down those stairs, doing laundry, dyeing her hair, had food on the table. She did not stop. It was constant. From the minute she woke up, she was just constantly moving. So maybe that's, I think it was just in the DNA for sure. So. And I didn't realize that those were examples that I had. I didn't realize growing up that was the example that I had in front of me, but it makes sense now. So. And
you touched on something really important, which is, well, first of all, I think it's great that you were around all these women that were so driven and had that entrepreneurial spirit and really were able and capable of managing a lot, which a lot of women are. But at the same time, the old school way of being in terms of being a mom and being a woman, we really did learn to put ourselves last. And wasn't a lot of, or I don't know, you could tell me, I don't know how much self-care practice you saw these women doing. And so now it's kind of we want to take some of the old and bridge it with some newer ways of taking care of ourselves, because I feel self-care, especially now with everything that's going on with the pandemic, it's really taking a different look at how we take care of ourselves or how we aren't taking care of ourselves. So what are some of the self-care practices, or what are the things that you do to help you stay sane in such sort of a crazy world, especially somebody like yourself that juggles so much?
I really enjoy success stories. I feel like that's part of my meditation. So whenever I feel like I am about to lose it or cry or throw something, I listen to success stories. I get on YouTube. Lisa Nichols, have you heard of Lisa?
I love her. She's so great.
And I think it's because she was a single mom and she's just so vibrant and her energy is so outrageous. But I love listening to her. I love listening to podcasts. All the women, Oprah and Maya and just all the greats, Brene Brown, and I feel just connected. And also at the same time, I look at them as role models. So I feel like their stories and, what they have to offer and what they share really puts me in a place of peace and also kind of gives me hope for the future. And that is one of the things that I do for myself only. And I do the whole exercise and go for a walk outside. And, I'm an active person, so it's hard for me to sit still. But when I'm actually listening to somebody that I look up to, somebody that I admire, that really kind of puts me at ease. Or I'll even check in with my sisters or my mom or my family. And I think that, to me, self-care to me is like, I need to feel it emotionally. I need to feel it from the inside out. It's not necessarily me doing my nails or like taking a bath. I need to be pulled. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense. And there's the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and the physical body. And for you, and it's really for all of us, a big part of our self-care is what brings you ease emotionally,
Yes.
So a lot of your work involves you moving. I know that you were talking about like your fitness background and bridging fitness and food. And that's something that I love so much that you've been doing since this whole quarantine started, is you're doing like power bar and like a fusion of different video, like fitness workouts that people can join in and do from home, real simple things. And then on top of that, you have the food, but you're moving your body a lot already. So it makes so much sense that your self-care practice doesn't need to involve too much more of that because you're ready for work. So
And I think too, it's like the food and the fitness are my passions because it's something that I can share with the world, right? So like, it is my gift, and it's some, and I've realized, and I'm even realizing more so lately, and I think since I've started this fitness group, is that my gift was the ability to share food and fitness on a level that is energetic and vibrant and fun and nourishing. And I feel like that's the platform, but what I really love is people, and I want to know them from here up to here. Like that's I think where it really is just the connection of that. The platform is food and fitness. I love it, I'm good at it, but what really feeds my soul is this right here, talking to you, Janie. Like, this stuff is so awesome. I love it.
And I love it so much too. And you're talking about like, it's intimacy, it's that connection and that really engaging with people, not like on a superficial level, but on like the core of who they are. And you care about people. So when you're sitting with someone and you're engaging with them one-on-one, like you and I right now, and this is how I feel too when I sit with people, whether it's a quick conversation with a person at the grocery store really quick, or if
Those are my favorite.
I know, right? They're the best. They're the best. I love those conversations. There's a level of friendliness that we need to sort of like come back to. There's a lot of mistrust with people. And well, now we're being quarantined, and now we're starting to realize like those pleasantries, those little things that we take for granted, just saying hi to people and being in closer proximity to each other. I'm not sure where I was going with that. We were talking about connection and engaging and being present. It's like active listening. Sometimes when we're talking to people, we're so like in here, and you're talking about really dropping into the heart and living from that space. And when you live from heart space, it's kind of hard not to tap into passion. So you were around a lot of powerful women. You are a powerful person. We all have great capacities and abilities to make significant changes in our lives and like impacting other people. But for you, where do you really feel like that energy and that power source comes from?
I feel like I have been pulled to do something. And what that is, I'm still trying to figure that out. I know that I think the energy, that source comes from looking back on my life, looking back on the obstacles and the trauma and the recovery and overcoming everything. I feel like there is just something that's like, okay, you had to go through that in order to live your purpose. So continue to do what you love, which I am. Continue to be truthful to yourself and be okay with your story. And it took me a long time to be comfortable with my story and to say my story out loud. But I'm like, okay, I'm okay with it because it's my truth. So you just continue to do what you're pulled to do, and then everything will basically fall into place. So I think that energy maybe comes from that. As a mother, I have an example to, I have to lead by example in a sense. My husband and I were trying to have a a baby. We've been trying now for almost 2 years. So it's like, you know, don't lose hope. I'm still, you know, I'm in my early 40s. So it's just like, I still have time. But there is, I guess the word, maybe a legacy to live and to leave for whoever wants to be a part of it, maybe. So maybe that's where that source comes from. Is that like, I feel like I was given these talents, I better freaking share them. and if anybody wants, and I appreciate anyone who's willing to partake in it, and you know, like, and then you learn from people's responses. You're like, okay, you like this, cool, I'll do more of it, you know. And if you get that feedback and you create a community, then you know you're on the right path, I suppose.
Absolutely. You have a page right now where you're showcasing these videos that you've been doing, the workout videos. What's the page if people want to like connect with it?
It's called, right now, it's called CobyFit by Sassy Chef. And I called it CobyFit because it was created because of this quarantine. And it's funny because I taught group fitness at Lifetime for 9 years, and then in December, was my last day in December. So it was just time to move on. I didn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with fitness. I started working at a small Pilates studio, which was great. But I just knew my time there was done. But I knew that fitness was going to stay a part of my life. I just didn't know in what capacity. So when this being in quarantine, it happened organically. I asked somebody, like, I know group fitness people. I know that they like that sense of community. And I knew that, you know, as a group fitness instructor, it's really important to do this together with people. And I knew that they were going to be sad because they're like, okay, I like, you know, that's why they do group fitness. They want to be amongst people. And I'm like, you should just make classes like online and just do it live, and that'll hold you accountable. Because there was like a couple of weeks there, I was like drinking every day. I'm like, you need to freaking do something, because this drinking every day is not cutting it. So then it gave me a purpose, a reason to get up and to make a plan and to set a schedule. And so far it's been wonderful. And actually, speaking of alcohol, I am 2 weeks sober today. So that is another self-care of mine. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to not, and we've discussed this before about how I used to, you know, I've battled with like addiction and everything. So I would like to this sobriety continue. I'm going to try to go as long as I can. I'm such a food and wine person. I love to travel and I love to have drinks when I travel. But, you know, right now it's just something I have to do for me, for my sanity. So, but yeah, the group is called CobyFit, and we have classes every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. But the group also kind of connects with other groups, so it's a direct source to find other online workouts as well that other people are doing. So
super cool. And I love that you mentioned community, because you know, we have to go back to unity and finding our community. You know, people talk about like finding your tribe, you know, or attracting your tribe. And now more than ever, that's another part of the way the indigenous people lived and the native people lived, you know, where that community and everybody taking part in bringing their gifts and talents and helping each other out. That's really what we need to get back to. And now being in quarantine, it's causing us to be creative in how can we do that. And with technology, you know,
absolutely.
And so I really commend you for taking the time and energy to do that. And it's brilliant because, like you said, it's a way for you to hold yourself accountable. And times like this, when our entire schedule of lives are sort of
it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's not the normal, typical pattern that we're used to. So to find a new normal within the funkiness of that we're in, within the funkiness is really important, probably also for your mental health, like you were saying. You know?
And I think that's another reason why I started. It was basically for my mental health, because it was just like, you know, I think we're all kind of lost. Like, what are we supposed to do? Even if we're self-disciplined in exercise, I'm self-disciplined in exercise, but it was like, I needed a schedule. I needed to wake up for something. aside from being a mother. You know, you do need to wake up for yourself. Like, aside from taking care of your family, which whom I love, but it's like there lies the self-care.
You really have learned how to find your personal balance, your personal harmony. Because I know that's really crucial. You have your time for yourself, you have your time for your community and your work, and then you have time for obviously your husband and your son. Do you notice the difference when you aren't doing the things necessary in order for you to find your harmony? Like, what's the first thing that you notice?
Oh, my anxiety. I have anxiety, and I suffer from anxiety and PTSD. And it actually happened this morning. But I start pacing, and I start like my heartbeat starts racing. Like, I'm like, my breath is all whack. Like, I feel like the hair on the back of my neck stands up. Like, it's so physical. And then my mind just starts, you know, like I'm like, okay, calm down, take a breather. And especially since we've been in quarantine, it happens daily. It happens daily, never fails. So it's a lot of, you know, I need to work at it.
And I like that you were able to identify so many of the different physical sensations that take place, because there's an intelligence that's speaking to us to let us know when we're not at ease. And so as you start noticing these things, do you do like breath work for yourself in those times? What are some of the things that help you?
I don't necessarily do breath work, but I do talk to myself. Like, I just start talking to myself because I feel like that starts slowing things down. And I'm like, take it easy. And I always say that, I'm like, dude, just relax. Calm the F down. I'm like, but taking it easy, I like those words because it kind of just puts me in a groove of like, okay, chill, like take it down enough. The breathing stuff, I'm still learning. My husband's really great at taking these big, deep breaths where his whole rib cage just opens up. So, and then I try to do it, and I don't know, he's got this way about him. I told him earlier, I'm like, you move like water. Like, he's just like this really cool, chill guy that's just so smooth. And I'm like, yeah! You know? So when
y'all help balance each other out. That diaphragmatic breath work is so good for our immune system.
Oh, for sure.
And helping to sort of calm the nervous system, you know, down. You mentioned, you know, this feeling and this calling. You talk about being connected to the heart, which I feel our intuition is connected here. And then you have like the gut instinct, you know, which is like that brain in the gut, and then we have the brain in the heart. How long have you been operating from your heart space, would you say? And how much do you now listen to your intuition? Like, what is intuition to you?
Okay, so I just connected both recently. Like, I think I lived for like, maybe it's that survival thing, you know, the trauma survival, single mother, but I lived on survival mode and instinct forever. And it always limited me because I didn't know how to thrive, right? Because it was just like, okay, you're just surviving. Just get the bills paid. Just make sure there's food on the table. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to just survive. Like, that's not a way to live. So with a lot of like research of healing, you know, throughout the years, it was like, okay, it's really important to connect the two. And I don't know what it is, but as of late, I'm focusing way more on love. And especially as a passionate person and as an artistic person, like, I'm like, you need to do everything with love. Every move you make, every little thing that you do with love, and you appreciate any little, like even making a friggin' sandwich for my husband and my son. You gotta love making that sandwich. You need to love spreading that mustard on that bread. Like, mustard, I love it. But I'm noticing when you do things with love, there's so much more gratitude, and I think. And that combines with everything, the purpose. You know, you went through a bunch of bullshit to get to this point to make sure that you're grateful to love what you're doing, right? It just is like this constant circle.
This is like a perfect moment to kind of wrap up this episode, speaking of circle, you know, kind of coming full circle, everything all sort of ties together. Your power, your passion, your purpose. I love that you touched on gratitude. I know the last time we talked when we really went into gratitude, and that really is a game changer, you know, for us, and coming from a place of love as much as possible. You're being so intentional and deliberate in that way, and obviously that's going to have a huge impact on your well-being. I always tell people how your being is going to impact your well-being. So, and this is a time for us to really dive into self-awareness, because it's time for us to take accountability and responsibility for how we're showing up in life for ourselves and the people that we care about. And I think you're doing such a beautiful job of that, and you really are such a beacon of light for so many people. Is there anything else that you would love to share?
So I think right now what we're going through is really challenging and it's really difficult. And I think that we need to be so much more forgiving to ourselves and our surroundings. I know that I'm not the only one. I feel like I have made some mistakes through this quarantine and how I've handled certain things. And just like, you know, I've had a couple breakdowns in the past few days. And I think the most important thing, and I know that other people are going to too, so I think just to be able to be okay and, you know, forgive yourself. I don't know if you're like this, but whenever I mess up, I get so down on myself, and I'm just like, gosh, why are you so, the guilt, and, you know, but it just like, now is the time to just learn to let that go, because I feel like guilt and like harboring hard feelings is just ego getting in the way of progression. And since we have this time to ourselves right now, it's really time to just, you know, come back to ease and fall in love with the simplicities of life. And I think that's just what's more important right now, is reflection, taking it easy.
Yeah. You were mentioning, you know, those emotional feelings that we have, and having the highs and lows, and learning how to create safe space, having self-compassion and mercy for when you do, so that it's the guilt and all that shame that's wanted to rise up. Like you said, it's the ego, and the ego is addicted to pain and suffering. So when, you know, it's not getting its fix, it's like, let's throw some guilt and shame in there real quick. That'll get them, you know? And so I think it's really beautiful that you're able to feel those emotions, notice them, and you've been doing the work to know how to release them, but release them in a healthy way, you know?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, recently, like another thing that I was like really contemplating during this quarantine is to heal healthy, the importance of healing healthy and forgiveness and forgiving healthy. And, you know, I think that's huge, 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 to be able to just like, don't be, you know, like, don't have so much guilt on yourself and so much shame. So
thank you. Thank you so much for that. And please let them know how they can connect with you.
So you can find me at yoursassychef.com. It's my website. There are delicious, wonderful, healthy recipes on my blog. So since we have a ton of time on our hands, now would be a great time to start researching healthier recipes, trying new things. You can find me on Facebook at Heather Larican Rejino. My fitness group is called CobyFit by Sassy Chef. So I would love for y'all to join me on the workouts. And I'm also on Instagram at Your Sassy Chef, where I post workouts, healthy recipes, all the platforms, doing the things. So I'm on all those platforms.
Thank you so much, Heather, and continued blessings on all your endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This is so great. I love talking to you.
And thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. Be sure to tune in next week when we'll feature Amy Kobos, the creator of Kiss My Wellness. You won't want to miss what she has to say about power, passion, and purpose. Till next time, peace be in us.